Hello, YouTubers. This is Arnold Solof giving the COVID-19 update for March 29th, 2020. So I'm going to entitle this one Running the Numbers Number 2. So on my prior video, I calculated based on the new cases per day in the United States that were measured on March 18th, 2020. I took the doubling rate that was present at that time and calculated how many doublings it would take before the coronavirus would go through the entire country. And we came out to about 13 doublings from where it was at that point. And things are pretty much on target, although I would say over the last several days, the doubling time seems to be lengthening. So I think we're just beginning to see some effects of the shelter-in-place rule. And that it's having some effect. Instead of doubling every 2 to 3 days, I think we're doubling maybe every 5 to 6 days at this point. So that's a good sign. But I also wanted to run another calculation because of this idea of releasing restrictions on certain parts of the country that are not so affected. The problem with that is we still don't have testing readily available, and without testing you can't do effective contact tracing, and so you don't know who the people are, and you can't really do it. If we have and when we get unrestricted available testing, then we'll be able to do that. But we're not there yet. According to Dr. Fauci, this morning said it would be 3 to 4 weeks before we have unlimited or unrestricted testing where we can do it where and when we need it and get the results back rapidly. Because if you have to wait any significant amount of time between when you do the test and you get the result, then the person is released into the community, spreading the infection, and that test isn't so useful. You need to get the results quickly to be able to use them well. So I ran some numbers over here to show what would happen if you had a community somewhere in the United States that had just one case. And we know it's all throughout the United States, even in those areas that have very little. So if you start with one case and you double it every 2 to 3 days, and it will double then, because in those areas that are not on any kind of shelter-in-place rule, there's nothing to stop it. So I calculated it will take about 11 doublings from one case to get to the point we were over the country as a whole on March 18th. From that point, then they're just going to repeat what the rest of the country just did. So, okay, that's just my computer light going down. I thought it was my camera. Anyway, so basically, if you say a 3-day doubling rate for calculation purposes, 11 doublings, you've got 33 days. So if you shelter in place in those areas where there's very little coronavirus now, you could buy a month of time where the virus is being contained. So a month from now, when the tests do become available and you can get rapid results, you would be then able to do effective determination of who's got the infection and trace their contacts effectively and contain it. And at that point in time, the granular approach, or the approach where you don't need to be so restrictive in the areas that aren't that effective, would work very well. But if you don't do it, in other words, if you don't shelter in place now, you will have so many cases throughout the community that you're going to be overwhelmed. And even if at that time, when you do have the ability to test and determine who there are just going to be too many cases, too many contacts. It won't be effective at that point. And then you'll have to shelter in place, even in what are currently relatively unaffected areas. You won't have any choice but to shelter in place for a prolonged period of time. So now's your opportunity to do it now, while we develop and get large numbers of test kits out there that can give us results in a very short period of time. And then you could have your problem under control. Don't do that. Don't shelter in place now. And you're going to be in the same boat as the rest of us in a very short period of time. And how long? 1 month. And this is why the policy should be national to shelter in place. The president's idea of not damaging the economy by not unnecessarily restricting the movement is actually going to hurt the economy, because it's going to cause more disease and the need for a more prolonged sheltering in place for all those areas, which could have avoided it if they sheltered in place now. So that's today's update on COVID-19. Thanks for watching.